I want to read this because, again, I feel like I get this question a lot. So we're going to underscore the importance of smallest viable market. You said the challenge for most people who seek to make an impact isn't winning over the mass market. It's the micro market. They bend themselves into a pretzel trying to please the anonymous masses before they have 50 or 100 people who would miss them if they're gone. And the line of, if you can't succeed in the small, who do you believe, or how do you believe you're going to succeed in the large? I don't think we can say this enough, quite frankly, because when we do an exercise in B School about ideal customer avatar, and I'm having people just imagine for a moment, just a single person, people freak out.
Yep.
They're like, it's so much resistance, but, I want to serve everyone. And I feel like this is a slightly different angle. It's like, look, forget about tens of thousands or millions. What about the first 10?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So one of my, I don't remember many of my blog posts because, it happens.
Daily.
But there's one I wrote called First 10. And what I say to people who say, how am I going to get the word out? Is I say, do you know 10 people? Are there 10 people who trust you? Are there 10 people who will try? And everyone says yes. I said, so when you bring your work to them, do they say thank you and move on? Or do they insist on telling other people? Because if they insist on telling other people, you're set. And if they don't, then you need to make better work or find the right 10 people. Those are the only options.
I love it.
You can't buy your way to mass anymore. You used to be able to. It's gone.
So on that tip, I want to turn a little bit to the idea that all critics are right and all critics are wrong. This is so vital. Again, I hear this almost weekly. Anytime I go to an event, people ask about it. It's like, well, I'm so scared of having that Instagram comment or that blog comment or that email or that video of someone just trashing my work and saying it's no good. You said the critic who doesn't like your work is correct. The critic who says no one else will like your work is wrong. It's either good or it's not. That is not true.
Right. So anyone who has an opinion, it's true. That's their opinion. They're not trying to win a logic prize. It's just, I don't like that photo. I don't like that baked good. I don't like this, right? Fine. Thanks for letting me know. That might not be my problem. It might be my problem. We'll see in a second. But the critic who says, I've seen this movie. I'm writing in the New York Times. No one will like this movie. That critic is wrong. Because that critic can't know what everyone else will like. All they know is what they like. Mm-hmm. And so when someone shows up and says, I hate this, the answer is thank you. Thank you for caring enough to try it. Thank you for caring enough to let me know that I shouldn't bother you again. Thank you for giving me a chance to point you to someone else who will help you so I can earn some trust and repay your trust of me. Thank you. And when someone says no one should go here, we just need to ignore that person because they're wrong.
And I feel like people forget that the most beloved things, you use the example of Harry Potter and the book that over 21,000 reviews and 12% of them are 1 star.
1 star, the worst book I ever read. Worst book I ever read. Said to the author who made more money as an author than anyone in history. This is the worst book I ever read. Really. Yeah.
We need to all remember that. Do you still, and I don't know because I don't plan to, do you still not read reviews on Amazon?
Zero.
People need to hear it.
In 5 years. I stopped 5 years ago for a couple of reasons. One, I realized I'd never met an author who said, I read all my 1-star reviews and now I'm a better writer. Okay? That never happened. First of all, you're never going to write this book again. So the feedback on this book doesn't really help you. The book's already done.
Yes.
And secondly, all it does is seize you up and make you shut down.
Yes.
So I'm like, well, you have the right to say that, but I don't have the obligation to read it. Thank you for taking the time, but no, I don't want to know.
Let's talk about the distinction between feedback and advice, because I thought that was subtle and vital.
Right. So if you say to someone, do you have any advice for me? You will learn all sorts of wonderful things. If you say to someone, do you have feedback for me? It feels corporate. It feels like they're on the hook and they're going to give you a different kind of thing, that is the, if I were you, here's my criticism thing, but you're not me. And so thank you for the feedback. But really what I was hoping for was the advice. And the advice might be on an emotional level. The advice might be, you are in my target market. You're not me, the creator, but as someone who's going to consume this, here, Here's some tips. That's really helpful. But the other thing that goes on in marketing is about making assertions. We assert that for people who believe this and who want this, this will help. We can't do that in the rearview mirror. We can't focus group our way to this assertion. At some point, we say to people, here, I made this. And if you're not comfortable saying, here, I made this, you should probably do something else. Because here, I made this is the joy of what we get to do. And it doesn't have to be, I sat by myself in a room and typed something. It could be my team of 40 people just opened this restaurant. I was part of the team. I'd love for you to try it. We made this. That's all the same thing. But what we didn't do is ask 10,000 people what they wanted, average up all their answers. Here it is. Because then that's average, which is another word for mediocre.
Absolutely. Boring, forgettable, vanilla, and not the good way. And I love vanilla. You talk about a difficult yet valuable exercise for marketers that can stretch our empathy muscles. And I thought this was genius. So for the people that don't choose you, why are they right?
Exactly.
Why are the people who don't choose you correct in their decision not to choose you?
And this, inside the marketing seminar, this is the knots people will tie themselves into. Because what they want to say is, you're right because you're an idiot. Or you're right because you have bad taste.
Yeah, exactly. You have no taste. You don't even know what's good.
Here's the deal. Empathy means I don't know what you know. I don't want what you want. I don't need what you need. And that's okay. So the person who doesn't like what you sell is right because they don't know what you know. They don't want what you want. They don't need what you need, et cetera, et cetera. So the question as a marketer is to say, if I could inform them of something, would they change their mind? And for a lot of people, the answer is still no. Fine. Shun the non-believers. It's not for you. I get that. That's what makes culture work. But if you're going to spend all your time hoping that the white tablecloth remains white without one spot of red wine on it, you're going to be a very unhappy person.
Yes,
because there are no pure white tablecloths left.
You say price is a story and that cheap is another way to stay scared. A low price is the last refuge for a marketer who has run out of generous ideas. That gets an amen from me.
Yeah. So if you are hoping to win on sort by price, you're doomed because the internet loves sort by price and someone's always going to be cheaper than you. It's a race to the bottom. And even if you do win for a little while, you're always going to be afraid because someone can get even cheaper than you. Low price is the refuge for the marketer who has nothing to offer except it's cheaper. If that's all you have to say, then you better be the cheapest. For all the rest of us, we have to say, this costs more and it's worth it. And if you're not comfortable with that, then you don't believe it's worth it. And that's the challenge, is to figure out how to bring the story of price to the table. Because the fact is, no one drives a Yugo. No one gets their haircut with a Flowbee anymore. Because the fact is that those were cheaper, but we liked paying more.
Yeah.
Because paying more told ourselves a story about who we were and where we are going. Paying more gives us a sense of reassurance. Paying more makes us the customer, which means we get to dictate quality going forward. So the gutsy thing to do is be able to say to your customer, this costs a lot and it's worth even more than that.
Yes.
That's where we have to head.
That has always made me excited. Like in my business, I joke around with anyone that'll listen to me, but I'm like, look, I'm expensive but worth it.com. I will do my best to put out the best free advice and information that we possibly can. And we work our tails off for that consistently now. And if you're going to engage in a training program with me, it's going to be an investment and it will be 20, 30, 40 times more than what you've invested.
Right.
And it feels really good as a business owner. You know, it's been like 18 years now. And I love that positioning because also, you know, you wrote about this in the book. You can pay people a fair wage. You have margins so that you can invest in quality. You can do other things with those resources to help shift the culture, whatever culture you're aimed towards. For anyone listening right now, and I know we have a lot of folks in our audience who feel this way, they may be getting started on their entrepreneurial journey and they want to serve a particular market that perhaps doesn't have deep pockets. What do you say to them?
Well, I got to do a couple of little bits of background.
Yeah,
First
of
of all, entrepreneurs and freelancers are not the same thing. Freelancers get paid when we work. You're freelancing right now, so am I. We didn't send somebody else to the room. Entrepreneurs build something bigger than themselves. Entrepreneurs make money when they sleep. Entrepreneurs build a business they can sell. Most people who are starting out as entrepreneurs are actually freelancers. And if you want to make it as a freelancer, the only thing to do is not work more hours, because that hits a limit really fast. It's get better clients. Because better clients challenge you more, pay you more, talk about your work more, and the work you make spreads more, so you get better clients still. So the only difference between a great freelancer and a struggling freelancer is who has better clients. So we need to spend our time doing that. But if you're an entrepreneur and you say, I am seeking to serve people who don't have deep pockets, you just picked your smallest viable audience. Don't whine about the fact that they don't have deep pockets. You picked them. So if that's their nature, then you're going to need more of them in order to deliver what you deliver. So Walmart said, look, there are people in Arkansas who don't want to spend $600 for a lawnmower. We're going to serve them. But in order for that to work, we need there to be a lot of lawnmowers we're going to sell. So that's got to be built into the business. You can't say, I want to build a bespoke business that's truly authentic to my inner nature. I'm going to spend all this money and I'm going to be critic-proof, and it's $1. Because you can't have both unless you figure out how to get to scale.
Yeah.
So my advice for most people who are starting out is, if you have a choice between picking a well-off audience and a not well-off audience, pick a well-off audience. Pick one. It's not how much they have in their bank. It's how much are they willing to spend to solve this problem. Because people without a big bank balance will still spend a lot to solve a particular problem if you're worth it, right?
And if it's important to them. I want to create digital products based around my blog content, and I'm having the scaries about slapping a price tag on it. The content I provide is top-notch and one of a kind. People pay to come to my classes and private sessions, so I figure, why shouldn't I be able to charge for it online? My question is, how do I figure out the best price to charge for this content? Great question, Irene, because so many people ask me this, what do I charge? And it's a very big topic that I could talk about for days. Since I don't have days, I'm gonna give you a few steps to get you started and help you find your product pricing sweet spot. Step number 1 is you need to understand your big picture positioning. Here's what this means. You never price your product in a vacuum. You need to look at the big picture of your business and see where this product fits in. Is this an entry-level product that you want to feed into higher priced offerings? Or is this your premium flagship product that you really want to charge a high price for? But we can't stop there, because you also need to think about your broader positioning. Here's what I mean. How do you want to position your whole business in the marketplace? So for example, do you want to be like Walmart that has super high volume and lower prices? Or do you want to be like Bergdorf Goodman? They have much, much higher prices and fewer customers. Your answers to these questions will help you strategically price your offering, and then you're ready for step 2. Step number 2 is you want to quantify the results that you're promising. To do this, you're going to use something I call the mattress method, which I'll explain in a minute. A few years ago, we were at Sleepy shopping for a mattress, and I really wanted the Tempur-Pedic. Now, that runs about $3,000, which is way more expensive than any other mattress, so I was having a tough time paying that much for a mattress. Then the sales guy said something that really clicked. He reminded me that I spend over a third of my life in bed, and that the quality of my sleep affects my productivity, my health, and my good looks. He said, what's it worth to you to sleep well over the next 10 years? And I thought to myself, great effing question, dude. Well, since sleeping well essentially makes you richer, healthier, and prettier, I'd say a whole hell of a lot. All of a sudden, that $3,000 started to look like a steal. The mattress method is when you deliberately translate the value of your product and service into real-life currencies like time, money, love, or health. Ask yourself, what result are you helping people achieve, and how can you translate that value into even more time, money, love, or health? For example, let's say you're selling a program that helps women stop fighting with their husbands. So a real result that you should be able to get is saved marriages. Now that sounds like something you can't put a price on, but actually you can. Let's say you take women through your program in just 2 weeks. Now, most couples, when they go to therapy, spend an average of $200 per session, and they're usually in therapy for at least 6 months. So you could estimate that an alternative to buying your program is spending over $4,000 and 6 months in therapy. Or a worse alternative, a $20,000 divorce. That's the average it costs in this country according to an organization called Marital Status. So girl, you could potentially be saving people $20,000 if you can help them save their marriage. Now, I'm not saying you put that breakdown in your sales pitch, but you could. Either way, it's a very effective strategy for figuring out what your offering is really worth to your customer so you can price it accordingly. As I said earlier, this is a complex topic that's tough to cover in a wee little video. But these pricing strategies are solid as a rock.
And now we're solid. Solid as a rock.
Now take that shirt off. And are enough to get you started. Yes, it's Marie and it's Team Forleo and you are on the live call-in show, darling. Thank you so much for being here today. What's your question and how can we help you?
Sure, I'm so glad that you're able to talk to me today. So my question is that we at Ponder Lily, we make eco-friendly planners for mindful living. We're not trying to tell people how to plan their days. Like we all know that people can multitask all too well. So in our industry, we make our eco-friendly planners, and our customers aren't particularly concerned about whether or not our products are eco-friendly. Quite honestly, I really don't want to compromise on this aspect of our business. We'll always want to source ethical products and to make our planners and sustainable materials. So how do we market our products being eco-friendly when our buyers aren't necessarily concerned about that?
Well, Karina, first of all, I just want to congratulate you on your business. And I clicked through to your website, to ponderlily.com, and your stuff is beautiful. So I just want to congratulate you. It's awesome. And I know how much it takes. Many people watching know how much it takes to bring anything to life. So kudos to you for that. But I'm going to dive in with some tough questions. So we're just going to hit it. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
So I want to know what your goal is, because when I hear that you're like, how do I market my eco-friendly planners when my customers don't really care? It's not really one of the top priorities on their list. My question to you is, okay, so what's the problem? Is your goal, my love, to sell more planners and to grow your business and just stay aligned with your values? Or is there something I'm missing where you're like, I want to be the dominant journal maker in the eco market? So tell me what your goal is.
Well, my goal is to be able to, to grow our business and let our customers know that we don't necessarily need to compromise on those materials and, to give them a quality product. We want to be eco-friendly from cover to cover, and we were willing to offer quality products and meaningful design, even if that means that we make a smaller margin, because it can be done, Marie. I just want to put a better product in people's hands.
Let me ask you this question. What do your customers care about? Because I know that you shared, you're like, hey, that's not really their big goal. What is their concerns? What do they want from you?
Okay, so they want a planner that is elegant and sophisticated, that they can bring, that goes from work to weekend, they can bring to the boardroom and to a kid's play date to write notes and to let them draw and stuff like that. Okay. So that's what we want, and that's easily that they can carry easily in their bag or
Great. So I heard two things. So one, first of all, I commend you and I love you for staying true to your values and to saying we are going to produce the most eco-friendly and sustainable products we can. That's what we need more in this world. And that being said, if what your customers care about are things that are elegant, things that can really work from the workday to the weekend, that can fit in their bags, what I'm hearing from you and from what I've seen on your website, you actually have a higher end customer than I think you're giving yourself credit for. And I will tell you this as someone who also cares about where things come from, tries to pay attention as much as I can to what a company does in order to bring their product to market. I am always happy to pay extra for those things. So I would encourage you to relook at your pricing and making sure that your margins are high enough, because the type of consumer that you're targeting, she won't mind paying because she understands what it takes to produce it, and it'll make her feel good. The other thing about your type of company, there's different product lines. So I would imagine that you can bump the prices up on perhaps more of your high-end planners and have things that are maybe a little easier to produce, like if they're notepads or things like that, be a little bit on the lower end, still good margins, but you don't have to feel like you're pricing out some of your customer base. And the third thing is this, when I was peeking around at your site, I noticed that it doesn't really talk that much about your eco-friendly sustainability-ness, if that's a word.
Right.
And so if that's really important for you to communicate, you need to do a better job at putting that front and center. And I understand you're like, they don't really care, but it feels like there's this conflict with you because you want to be known as this kind of brand. So if that is important to you, then shout it out a little bit more. The most important thing, Karina, is for you to get clear on your goal. So if you're like, you know what, as a business owner, our revenue is here this year, and I want to take either our revenue, our profits, amount of journals sold, whatever metrics that matter to you, you set a growth goal for yourself. I think you need to stay focused there. And in terms of the eco-friendliness, you're going to stay true to your values, right? You're going to just do that because that's embedded in your businesses and your soul's DNA. But as a business owner, stay focused on a metric that matters. And if for you, it's like, you know what? One of my goals is just basically to do a better job telling this eco-sustainable story. That's easy to do through like a simple campaign, changing your web copy, or setting up in your social sharing, maybe once every 2 weeks, sharing a stat about paper, trees, any of the actual components that you feel other journals aren't paying attention to, and that you want to highlight about how your company is different and inspire people to get on your bandwagon. Does that make sense?
Yep, it totally does. Thank you so much.
My business has taken off to a point where it's overwhelming. I'm a painter, so I can only outsource to a certain degree. I'm treading water, keeping all that I have going afloat. I love what I do, so my work is enjoyable, but I also want to evolve as an artist and avoid burnout. What are your thoughts? Well, September, I do have a few. So you want advice on outsourcing because no one else can do what you do, which is a very common problem for anyone who's creative or considers themselves an artist. But I want to tell you, September, this puts you in a great position because it does mean that no one else can do what you do, so no one else can get your stuff from anyone else. Here's a simple strategy that will solve your problem. Raise your prices, woman. Now, I can hear what you're saying right now. But wait, Marie, if I raise my prices, everyone's going to say I can't afford it. I can't buy your stuff. It's too expensive. Is that what you were thinking? Well, September, here's a nice surprise. It's usually just the opposite. You raise your prices and your customers will buy even more. There's a great study about how higher prices increase sales. In fact, Robert Cialdini cites it in his fantastic book, Influence, Science, and Practice. He tells a story of an Arizona jewelry store owner who, at the height of the tourist season, found that no one was buying the turquoise jewelry in her shop. It was really good stuff, but it wasn't moving. Before going away on a business trip, she left a note for her head salesperson which said, "Everything in this display case times half." And sure enough, when she came back, everything in that display case had sold. But here's the twist. The salesperson misread that little note, and instead of selling everything at half, she sold it at double the price. There's a deeply held belief in our society that you get what you pay for. Now, sometimes it's true and sometimes it's not, but generally speaking, people assume that if something costs more, that it's better. It's also a shortcut that we humans use to make quick decisions between products. The more expensive thing automatically gets categorized in our head as better, more valuable, and of course, more desirable. I know every time I raise my prices, more people want to work with me. It's as though they say, damn, she charges that much, she must be good. And I am. I can't think of any field where this is more true than art. I mean, think about it. Art prices can feel so arbitrary. The higher an artist's prices are, the more collectible they become, and of course, the more people want a piece of them. Here's the thing, September, people already want a piece of you, so that puts you in an awesome position to command more dollar bills, girl. Even if half your clients leave, think about it. You're still gonna earn the same amount of money. You're just gonna have more time off. But what will likely happen is you'll increase your prices, you're gonna get more demand for your work, you're gonna get better clients, and of course, you're gonna have more time off so you will not burn out. So raise those prices, girl, and let the stampede begin. Dear Marie, in the past year, I've started to make money with my art, which makes me very proud and happy. Though every time I make a sale, I feel guilty. If I do well at market, I drive home at the end of the day with guilt pressing on my heart, and I sometimes feel the urge to return to buyers and give them their money back. I think this comes from a sense that deep down, my work isn't good enough and it doesn't deserve to be sold. Rationally, I know it's good enough, but you can't change your emotions with rational thought. So my question is, do you have any tips on how to deal with seller's guilt? Thanks for your consideration. Lots of love, Elza Mika. Elza Mika, my dear, it is clear that you are possessed by some money guilt goblins. These little suckers are worse than bed bugs. But unlike bed bugs, you don't need a dog named Roscoe, harsh chemicals, or thousands of dollars to get rid of them. Look, you cannot change what you're not aware of, so let's shine a light on 3 of these nasty little buggers and get them out of here.
Hey, I'm napping, lady.
Money guilt goblin number 1, Senior Either Or. Also goes by the name, I win, you lose. Or in economics speak, this guy makes you believe in a zero-sum world. So what does that mean? It means that you believe there's a limited supply of money, that if you get more, then somebody else is gonna get less. You win and somebody else loses.
Yeah, how's it feel to put someone in the poorhouse? How's it feel to be the 1%? Enjoy that money now that someone else doesn't have it. Ha ha ha.
Here's a little reality check to kick this goblin right in the butt. We do not live in a zero-sum world. And if you want the facts to back this up, you should check out a book called The End of Poverty by Jeffrey Sachs. Now, yes, we still do have a lot of work to do to solve economic inequality, but you receiving money for your art does not take away wealth from someone else. It only adds to the total global money flow. And that's called positive sum, which is the best kind of sum unless you count dim sum. Guilt goblin number 2 is Mrs. Self-Doubtfire. Now this skank rears her ugly head anytime we put anything creative out into the world. Here's what she says. She says, basically, you're not good enough, you're a fraud, and you really pulled a fast one on people.
What lovely art. I think I'll put it on my Pinterest board called Things That Suck.
Look, what you create is intrinsically valuable and worthy because you are intrinsically valuable and worthy. Now, if you're still not buying this, you gotta make sure you check out our other Marie TV episode, which was made just for artists. And that leads me to our 3rd and final money guilt goblin. Guilt goblin number 3, Mr. Buyers Be Suckers. Now, this little turd makes you believe that your buyers are suckers, that anyone who gives you money for your art is a chump.
Yeah, you suckers fell for the crappy art. Now let's sell them some swampland, a bridge, and some stock at myspace.com.
Your customers are not dummies, so give them some credit that they know good art when they see it. And by accepting their money, you're actually validating their taste and their point of view, and you're giving them a chance to experience more joy and more beauty in their life through your art. Also, remember what a great feeling it is to spend money on something you love. How much joy is there in being able to say, you know what, that was worth every penny. And finally, even if you don't believe that your art is that good or worth that much money, somebody else paying for it does. So you need to honor and respect that. So let's land this plane. Shining the light on money guilt goblins is just step 1 in the process. Step 2 is you actually have to replace those beliefs with new, better ones. So from this moment forward, any time that you get paid for your art, I want you to repeat this mantra, and yes, it's a tweetable. Getting money means giving joy. Realize that every single time you receive money for your work, you're giving joy to the person who's receiving it.
I'm a coach and a facilitator, and my career initially started in the world of business, so focusing on team dynamics, interpersonal skills in the workplace. But my focus really shifted after I wound up in and ultimately got out of an abusive relationship. So now my aim is to share the learning that I've lived, providing training around important topics like boundaries and assertiveness and core values and so much more, in the hopes that people namely women, can learn through really intentional hard work rather than learning the hard way through, shitty experiences that I don't think anybody should have to endure.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm passionate about this. I'm excited to put myself out there, but I'm in the process of launching my website and services, and I know I need to start charging more if this is actually going to be a sustainable thing. And that's really why I'm reaching out, because I need to know how. How do you go about determining your own worth?
It's such a great question. I have much to say on that topic. And I'm also going to make myself a little note here because there's something else I want to say from a larger business context that I want you to consider as you move ahead. So first, let's talk about worth. So your worth is what you say it is. It is completely subjective. I always like to look around in the business environment because, there's razors, for example, that are just pennies on the dollar. You can get them, they're disposable. Right. And then I remember one time being on a flight and I was reading one of the in-flight magazines and it was like the world's most expensive razor. And I don't know if it was $1,000 or $10,000 or what it was, but it was just illustrative of the point that people can charge whatever they want for anything. And there's a market along the whole continuum. There's always folks who are going to be looking for what's the least expensive, and that's wonderful. And there's always going to be a portion of folks who are like, I want the most expensive, the highest level, the most luxury experience that I can possibly get in any category. In any category. And I think it's really, really important for you to know that. Now, we want to step back also, though, and look at this in a larger context. And rather than saying like, well, what am I worth? I think a more valuable question to ask yourself when it comes to how to price your products and your services is, who do I need to be in order to deliver 10 to 20 times the value of what my clients or customers are giving to me in terms of what they're paying? Right? So we want to change our whole mindset and think through the eyes of our customer and think about how can we over deliver so much value that our clients or our customers are like, oh my goodness, this is a steal at any price point. And I think that when we start from that place, we think about the customer experience, we think about the results that we're going to help our clients and customers achieve, and we think about the long-term impact of those results on our clients and customers' lives, all of a sudden the entire landscape changes. And then we start to imagine into how to create raving fans. Then we start to imagine into how to create such an extraordinary experience that people want to tell others about you. And they say, even though she's expensive, she's really worth it. I have a lot of fun with that phrase. I'm always like, look, I'm expensivebutworthit.com. I'm going to put out the best free content in the world and work my tail off to do so. But if there's ever a time when there's a paid experience, if it's an online training program, if it's a live event, if it's a book that I'm putting out into the world, I want you to feel like whatever you've invested in an experience with me, you're getting 10, 20, 100 times the value of what you put up. And that's kind of the metric I hold myself to, and that's what we operate on in the team. And when you come from that perspective, the whole money game starts to shift. So I want you to ask yourself, my love, who do I need to be? What do I need to change? How do I need to package and position myself so that I'm delivering 10 to 20 to 100 times the value of what I'm asking someone to invest in whatever this product or service is?
Right.
Cool?
Yeah, that's really, really helpful.
Yeah. So the other thing, though, I wanted to mention to you, and this is like a little of an aside, but it is really important. So I so honor you for going through the experience that you went through and for discovering for yourself, like, hey, there's all of these skills and understandings and concepts that I was unaware of that created a lot of pain, and I want to help people not go through what I had to go through. One thing that's really challenging in this world that not a lot of people get, it's changing a little bit, but not enough yet. Most people buy solutions to problems. It's really harder to sell prevention in the first place. It just is. We human beings When we have a painful problem in our lives, most of us are willing to like whip out our credit card or our checkbook or whatever we need to do in order to handle a problem. But it's an uphill battle to get people to invest heavily in preventing a problem that they don't even know exists that could come at some point in the future. So I just need to caution you in terms of who you're targeting and how you're positioning your service and your business. You know, people could be like, oh, you're marketing to pain points. It's like, yeah, because when people are in any kind of pain, that's when they're like, goodness, I need to take care of this and I need to take care of this now. I mean, we can take a look at it in terms of relationship therapy, right? Like I didn't go to couples therapy when Josh and I were like riding cool, right? When everything was like hunky dory and we're happy. You know, when I picked up the phone to go to some relationship couples counseling, when we were about to break up, that's when I picked up the phone. And that's when I'm like, when can we come and sit in your office so we can take care of this? Because this ain't going down the way that, you know, I want it to. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So I just wanted to offer you that little piece of context in terms of repositioning your business to make sure that you are marketing to people who understand how powerful it is to set boundaries, to be assertive, and to understand your core values. And chances are there are people that have had those things not work out so well in the past, and they're that much more motivated to go like, I need to handle this in my life, and I need someone who's experienced and qualified to help me do it.
Exactly, especially knowing that this is something that is a systematic issue.
Yep.
And it affects so many different things. It doesn't just have to be relationships. It comes up in family dynamics, in the workplace. So that's really good advice, making sure that that message comes across in the communication of what I do and how it's going to impact your life right now.
Yes.
That's really, really helpful.
And I would absolutely encourage you to consider applying language and situational examples to all three of those areas, not just to romantic relationships, but also how these things play out in the workplace, because that's one of the places in our lives where we spend the most time. And honestly, my friend, that's where people are going to be most apt to say, I need to pay for this solution because I go to work every day and it's friggin' miserable because I'm with a bully and I need to figure out how to navigate this so I can continue to advance in my career.
Yep. Absolutely.
Cool. Hey, it's me. So real quick, if you want to learn to start and grow your dream business, but you literally got no money to do it, you are going to love my free guide. It's called 322 Free Tools and Resources to Start Your Business, especially if you got no money. So you can go download it now at 322freetools.com. That's 322freetools.com. Hi, Marie. A friend turned me on to your show, and I'm really enjoying your episodes and guests. I'm a 45-year-old mother of 2 boys, and I'm going back to school to study health education and pursue my passion of leading women outdoors to help them nurture their body, mind, and spirit. I've been leading outdoor activities for years with friends and acquaintances. I'm in the beginning stages of defining my services and creating my website. My problem is charging for what I do. My friends have told me I should charge for my outings, and now that I'm creating a business, I know that I have to charge, but the thought of it makes me uncomfortable. Maybe because I don't truly value myself? I'm confident leading women outdoors, but I'm not confident asking for the cash. Thanks for all that you do and your wonderful team too. Admirably, Deanne. Deanne, this is a super common question. So many people I know, especially women, have trouble when it comes to asking for money for something that they love to do and they're really good at it. But here are 3 tips that'll help you get more confident asking for the cash. Step number 1, you need to get nice with price. So first, we need to shift your mindset. 9 times out of 10, people get more value out of something they pay for. They really are invested in the experience and usually more invested in getting results. So, example from my own life. I love when a spa asks me to put down my credit card to hold an appointment. First of all, it makes sure that I don't flake out on that appointment. And second of all, I always notice that when I pay for my spa appointment in advance, when I'm there, I pay more attention to the advice they're giving me on my skin, and I do a better job keeping up my skin after the appointment. So while there are exceptions, you have to realize when people pay for your services, you're actually helping them get more value. Step number 2, and I love this one, you have to have a pay me party. You sound like you have some awesome friends that really want to support you in charging for your services. So here's what I want you to do. Invite them all over, have some green juice or white wine or whatever, and then you're going to have all your friends put you on the spot about charging for your services. Now you're going to do this in 2 rounds, and I want you to use this script. Your friend will say, "Hey Deanne, I'd love to book an adventure. How much do you charge?" And then you're going to say, "Fantastic, the price is X. Let's get you booked right now." So I want you to do this again and again and again until talking about your price becomes second nature. Then you're going to do round 2. This time, your friends are going to ask you about booking an adventure, but you are the one that's going to have to bring up the price. The reason I want you to do this is because this situation is actually going to come up as you grow your business. So here's your script for round 2.
Hey, Deanne. Hey, girlfriend. I want to book one of your adventures.
And now, Deanne, you're going to say, "Awesome, we should book you a spot right now. It's $1 million for a 3-hour nature walk." Of course, you can insert your real price or just get comfortable saying it's $1 million because who knows, maybe it should be. Maybe your participants get to drink from a chocolate river or ride satin unicorns or pick fruit from a money tree. The point is, your pay me party is the perfect way to get comfortable saying, "I charge X." Now, the point here is you can't just think this is a good idea. You have to actually do it in order to get comfortable charging. Step number 3, make it simple and sexy to get paid. This is one of the best times ever to be an entrepreneur because it's so simple and sexy these days to get money from people. So Square is one of the most popular mobile POSs, so point of sale systems, and in just seconds it can take your iPad or your iPhone and turn it into a sleek and modern cash register. I love going into local shops that use Square because it just makes it really easy to fork it over. Feels like magic. I bet that you've given your friends a ton of free outdoor adventures over the years. So what's really going to get you over the money hump is if you actually start charging your friends. And what better way to do it than at the Pay Me party? You should get yourself set up on Square right now. And whether you charge your friends $1 or if somebody wants to book an adventure at your current rates, let them pay you. So let's wrap up this money adventure on a real deep tweetable. The courage to charge for what you do comes from charging for what you do. What can I say? Practice makes money. If you sometimes feel like a fraud, no matter how much you accomplish or do, this episode is for you. Today's question comes from Z, who writes, "Hey Marie, I'm really struggling with imposter syndrome. No matter how many people tell me I'm amazing and have really helped them, no matter how much progress I make in my business and life, I still feel like it's all a fluke and I actually suck and I should give up. I know that's normal, lots of people have it, but hey, all the more reason to ask for your help. Got any tips? Thanks so much, Z." Oh, Z, my love, yes. This is a great question. You know, according to the International Journal of Behavioral Science, a whopping 70% of us suffer from imposter syndrome, or that feeling of being a total fraud. So you're right. You are normal. And guess what? You're actually in very good company. In fact, here are just a few people you might have heard of who can totally relate. Jennifer Lopez said, "Even though I had sold 70 million albums, there I was feeling like I'm no good at this." Jodie Foster said, "When I won the Oscar, I thought it was a fluke. I thought everybody would find out and they'd take it back. Excuse me, we meant to give that to someone else. That was going to Meryl Streep." Even the legendary Maya Angelou said, "I've written 11 books, but each time I think, uh-oh, they're going to find out now. I've run a game on everybody and they're going to find me out." While this fraud feeling impacts everyone, it tends to hit women the hardest. Why? Because as women and members of other traditionally underrepresented groups, it's easy to look around and feel out of place or like we don't belong. And socially, we've been conditioned to self-deprecate and downplay our abilities. When we internalize that message that we're not the real deal, we suffer major consequences, and not just emotionally or mentally, but financially. I'm talking smaller careers and smaller bank accounts. That's why it's so important that we're talking about this. So let's dive in with 6 strategies to help you combat those negative effects of imposter syndrome. Strategy number 1 is share the shame. So most people who are high achievers feel this way, but never talk about it. It's like this dirty little secret that everyone's afraid to admit. Now, I will tell you right now, I still feel this way, and I've been doing what I'm doing for almost 2 decades. My friend Brene Brown says this: as a shame researcher, I know that the very best thing to do in the midst of a shame attack is totally counterintuitive. Practice courage and reach out. A to the men, Brene, and amen to you, Z, for sharing with this question. You know why? Because shame always shrivels when you share it out loud. So here's what to do to take this even further. What I want you to do is put a few people on speed dial for when that fraud festival comes to town, and it won't go away. These folks are your new hashtag fraud squad, people who you can jump on a call with and just say something like, hey guys, I'm feeling like I kind of suck right now. Can you remind me why I don't? Now, naturally, you should be willing to return the favor. You want to be that person who's always lifting others up and reminding them of how great they are, especially when they can't see it for themselves. Strategy number 2, shine your light out, not in. Now, I did a whole episode about this idea that you should watch right after this one, and I will put a link below. But here's the flashlight method in a nutshell. See, I want you to think about your attention, your mental and emotional and spiritual energy as a flashlight. And that flashlight can only shine in one direction. So in any given moment, that flashlight is either shining in on you and how insecure you are and how much of a fraud you feel like, or it's shining out where your attention is on your customer, what they feel and what they need and want, and most importantly, how you can help them. Now, here's the cool part. When your light is 100% focused on your customers or helping people, you've got 0 light shining in on you. That means you have 0 attention on your fraud feelings, which means they practically disappear. So the next time you catch yourself feeling like a fraud, I want you to remember that you're probably shining your light on yourself rather than directing it to where it can be most useful and most joyful, which is out on helping other people. Strategy number 3 is start a hype file. Now, you may have heard of a swipe file, and I'm suggesting that you start a hype file. This is a place where you can keep a running list of compliments and thank yous and any comments from people who've shared how you've helped them. So the next time you're feeling like a fraud, all I want you to do is open up that hype file.
Marie is a living miracle.
If loving Marie is wrong, I don't want to be right.
Marie, best show ever.
I got your logo tattooed on my...
You inspired me to start a business.
You inspired me to start 10 businesses.
And let them remind you that yes, you are the real deal. Strategy number 4, track your successes and your stumbles. So 2 facets of imposter syndrome are that 1, we don't internalize our success, and 2, we are terrified of making mistakes. That's why it's really important that you start to keep a list of both. So for example, every year I do a year in review. I write down each year's successes and my stumbles, and most important, what I've learned from them all. So this way I have this very factual list of what I've accomplished and the mistakes I made along the way. And I can see that not only did those mistakes not ruin me, but they help me get stronger and they help me get better, which makes me less afraid of making more of them in the future. We did a whole episode on this year in review process too, so that link is also below. Strategy number 5 is get a go-to mantra. So this strategy involves making up just this little phrase that you can say to yourself in those clutch moments, either when you're about to go into a big meeting or when you just need to sit down and do your work. Mindy Kaling, whom I love, suggested this as a motto: why the not me? And she's got the book to back it up. Now, I have to say, I've got my own version that I pull out when I need it every once in a while, too. You're Marie f***ing Forleo. You got this, bitch. Okay. Say it back. You're Marie f***ing Forleo. You got this, bitch. Yeah, you do. Chest bump. Now, a little science note here. When it comes to motivational self-talk, research shows that talking to yourself in the third person can help you actually feel less anxiety and perform better. So get yourself a go-to mantra and some bonus points if you use your first name. Finally, strategy number 6 is be humble. Look, the most accomplished and respected people in the world stay humble. They're curious, they're open-hearted, they're lifelong learners. Don't ever feel like you have to overcompensate for imposter syndrome by becoming an arrogant asshat know-it-all. Not only do you not have to know it all, but you become extra trustworthy when you say these 3 magic words: I don't know. You know, I consider myself a forever student, and I happily admit when I have no idea what something is or how to do something. But you know what? Everything is figure-outable, so not knowing doesn't make me a fraud, and it doesn't have to make you one either. For anyone watching that isn't a B-schooler or hasn't had me tell them about this book, can you explain to us what is a blue ocean strategy, just the whole concept? Give us the nutshell version.
Yeah, so first I have to say you're right. It's mutual admiration because I have been studying you as well and watching what you're doing in your space to carve out this whole new market where you're really not competing with anyone else. So I have to congratulate you on that. And what we found is that in looking, most companies are all focused on competing against one another in existing industries. The problem is supply exceeds demand. So margins are tight, growth is limited. And so what happens? It becomes what we think of as this bloody red ocean.
Yes.
But what we saw is that the companies that are successful, like Marie TV, they're not competing and doing what everyone else is doing. They're creating new markets, and there is no competition out there. And therefore, they have strong profit and growth. And we call those blue oceans because they're wide open and unexplored. And so the first book set out the thesis, why are we competing when we can create? And that's what the book was about.
Yeah. And so for so many people watching, they have this underlying fear. They look out into the world, whatever it is that they want to be, or a business that they want to start, or perhaps they're already in a business, and they're going, gosh, everyone else has already done the things I want to do. They've already, gone there. And how am I ever going to stand out? And I think what's so brilliant about your work, and gosh, you guys have been doing this for decades now. You have so much experience, expertise, data, studies under your belt. It really is this very specific, actionable way to step back, take a survey of the landscape, and in a very intentional way, do things differently.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what this next book, right, Blue Ocean Shift, helps us. It gives us that roadmap to make it happen in our own businesses.
Yeah, and I think everyone thinks that the opportunities in my industry or what I'm passionate about are different. And I can tell you, hairdressers probably thought that until Dry Bar came along. The hamburger joints all thought that until Shake Shack came along. Eyeglasses were collapsing the industry. Nobody's in them. And then Warby Parker comes along. So the opportunities we found, if you look at industry history, the number of industries are just exploding. What you're doing wasn't possible 10, 15 years ago because the technology wasn't there. So what we found is, number one, there are opportunities in every single industry to create. But the thing is, in order to move from competing to creating, we need to know how to get there. Otherwise, we start sweating. We're scared. We don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so what the second book is all about is providing that roadmap, which is the tools and the guidance you need to take you step by step from that red ocean and give you new ways of looking at the world so you see today what you couldn't see yesterday.
Yes.
And that's what we're excited about.
Yeah. And I think what's so cool, one of the stories that's in the beginning of the book that I just found so moving, and it's illustrative of how this concept isn't just about business. This concept really, I think, is about creativity and how you live your life.
Yeah.
So what was so wonderful is about the story of Zuhal, the 17-year-old Iraqi pianist who wanted to create her country's first youth orchestra and travel abroad with it, but she faced so many obstacles. Can you tell us about that story?
So here you are, a young girl. She's sitting there. She's 17 years old. It's 2008. Iraq is only known for destruction around the world. All we hear is bad stories. And she wanted to create a great story, and she thought music is something that unites. But here you have a country divided by fratricidal warfare between different Sunnis and Shiites. You have no resources, no logistics, but she reaches out via the internet and she decides to look for a conductor. She finds one in Scotland who's inspired. His name is Paul McAlladin. And he starts to look at her challenge. He loves it, but he knows when he sees youth orchestras, we have no way to compete. They haven't had music education in Iraq for a long, long time. They don't have good instruments. I can't bring people together. What do I do? And he knew if I compete and we try to be like other youth orchestras, we'll never make it. We'll never stand out. So by applying the Blue Ocean approach, he says, let's not stand for the best musicians, the best music, because we probably can't. But let's stand for peace and bringing people together. And let's make this something about uniting Sunnis and Shiites and showing that the youth actually want to build a strong country together, not keep fighting like our parents and grandparents did. And that's the nature. And it became known by the BBC as the bravest orchestra in the world. They did all different ways they built it, and they started traveling the world. And it's probably one of the most socially followed youth orchestras ever. And so it's just really inspiring. So they play Kurdish music and Arabic music right next to Beethoven and Brahms, which is lovely.
And what's so great about this story too, because I don't think there's anyone watching or listening right now that hasn't found themselves at some point in life up against a wall. Yeah. Right? Looking out into that landscape going, I don't have the resources. I don't have the experience. All these other people have all these other assets that I don't have, but yet this burning desire in me to jump into the game. And this is, again, why it's like, I love you guys and I love your work so much because, go ahead.
Well, what got me so excited about the second book is the first book, of course, we do Cirque du Soleil and everything. When people saw the book, they said, this is great, but you know what? I don't have Guy Laliberté or Steve Jobs as my CEO, and I'm not that. I have all these obstacles you're saying. So what the second book is about is seeing companies that were inspired by Blue Ocean strategy, took the tools and frameworks, worked on their own or work with us, and use them to shift their business. So everyone in the second book is showing you how, like a 17-year-old girl sitting in Iraq with a conductor can start to change the world. And so we look at regular people facing regular constraints, but applying this roadmap and shifting from the red to the blue. So, we always say now, you don't have to be born Steve Jobs. Anyone can make a shift.
Yes.
When we're actually given that roadmap and tools and guidance to know what works, what doesn't, how to avoid the pitfalls, and how to think differently.
Yes.
And that's what we think the second book does. And that's why I'm super excited about what it can do.
Yeah. And, with our B-Schoolers, and whenever I talk to business owners in any context, one of the things that they will often ask me about is pricing. Pricing is such a big topic. How do I know what to price my products and my services? And I'm a person who always advises, you want to have some nice margins. Margins are a wonderful thing. Might not be a perfect connection point, but let's talk about Citizen M, a hotel chain, because I think they're doing something really unique. And again, all of these stories may help people start to connect the dots for themselves and go, oh, wait, I could do something like that.
Yeah. So the hotel industry is basically a red ocean. It can't get bloodier than that. I think there was a Wall Street Journal article in August of this year talking about how it's going the way of airlines and just adding on all hidden costs, and maybe even the FTC should look into it. This one hotel chain starts as two entrepreneurs, and they look at the industry, and that they say is, let's start, one of the paths to creating a blue ocean is to look across strategic groups. And so they said, how can we combine the best of a 5-star, which is luxury, with the best of a 3-star, which is price, to unlock a whole new market? And so they opened up the market of affordable luxury hotels. It has the luxury and the best locations, great sheets, great bedding of a 5-star hotel, and a price accessible for a 3-star. And today they have, just to give you the statistics, they have 90% occupancy rates, which is 80% higher than the industry average. They have guest satisfaction ratings in the superb and fabulous category, and their cost structure is 40% less per room and 50% lower service costs. So can you imagine how profitable they are?
Oh my goodness.
And that is by shifting the questions you ask. If you ask, and this is really critical, if you want to create a blue ocean, you can't look at what people are doing in your competitive set. You need to look outside to understand how to shift what you do.
Yes, this is what we want to talk about. Okay, this is the thing I try and drill home to people. Even for what we do here, everything I create, I try my darndest to not look at other folks who do similar things than what we do. And I think that's been one of our secrets to success. And I share it all the time. Like, you guys can do this too.
Yeah.
But I'm so influenced by things outside, whether it's fashion or music or sports or entertainment or, cooking or things just over in left field. And you bring that inspiration back. And I think this ties into something else, not necessarily related to what you talk about in the book, but we have so many of these folks in our audience, people that consider themselves multi-passionate entrepreneurs, a little phrase that I coined way back. And people often feel bad because they have so many passions about different things. And I'm like, no, you need to flip that script, because you being interested in all of these different sectors and having experience, you can bring that back into whatever you're doing. And all of a sudden your competitive edge is off the charts.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what people need, especially people like you're talking about, multi-talents, they just need a way to understand how they can channel that into growth opportunities, right? Yes. So now they seem like they're diffused individuals, all these passions are running around. And I think what the process tries to do is teach you how to channel it and direct it. And to your point, yeah, you have to look outside. But what the book does, it gives 6 different ways. Where do you look, right, to create? So if I'm in the hotel industry and I look at what steel manufacturing does, it might give me a smarter way to build my hotel, but maybe not how to serve my hotel. And so the industry gives you, the book gives you, what should we compare and contrast to start to gain insights about what we can do differently today in our industry by learning from those outside of our industry. And so it's exciting.
Yeah, and I think the strategy canvas is still one of the most useful tools ever. Can you tell us a little bit about what the strategy canvas is? And I'm sure in post we can throw one up from the book, throw an example up.
So the strategy canvas is really powerful because if I would argue if our retail industry in America today, which everyone claims is being decimated by Amazon, and they drew their strategy canvas, they'd realize that they're leading to their own demise. Because what it does is it shows you all the factors you're competing on investing in and what's the competitive landscape. What do buyers get? So if you take the retail industry today, you look at Saks Fifth Avenue, Lord & Taylor's, Bloomingdale's, you take away the signage, there isn't hardly a person that will know which department store they're in.
Absolutely.
They've all competed on the same factors and they all do the same thing. And that's what that curve will reveal. It'll also reveal for people, so do I stand apart or not? In their case, no. And in the retail case, they're going to realize those factors are the same from when I was 7 years old. So while the world has changed, no one else has. So the strategy canvas is really effective. You want to know where you stand in your industry landscape, draw that one simple picture and get really clear, because most people are in illusion about their industry. They think they're different and they're not, and they don't even realize what they're investing in. You often find you're investing in factors that add no value at all. And you can eliminate them to start opening up new opportunities at lower costs, like Citizen M, right?
Yeah.
They eliminated the front desk. Nobody wants it. Bellhop, nobody wants it. Concierge, people use their Google search, mobile citizens. That dropped their cost structure dramatically.
It's amazing. I think what's so cool about this is everything's on the table, right? So every single factor, it challenges each of us to look at our assumptions and what we think is set in stone and then say, well, maybe not.
Well, like take the example of the French fry maker we start with. Here is this industry declining by 10% in value to electric French fry makers for the home. They all act on one assumption. To make French fries, you have to fry, and frying means lots of oil. No one ever questioned those assumptions. But hidden within it were tons of pain points. It takes a lot of oil, it's smelly, it's dangerous, it makes you fat when you eat the French fries. And so by applying the process, they realized, can't we make a fryer without any frying and just a little oil? And the solution was ActiFry. And so it makes, I think, 2 pounds of French fries with 1 tablespoon of oil. Oprah was so excited, she tweeted about it and she said, ActiFry, quote unquote, has changed my life. Stock price lifted 5% and the market grew from a declining market to 40% in growth. But nobody in that industry had thought to challenge those basic assumptions that it competes on and think differently, right? No one in the hotel industry say, can I create 5-star comfort and 3-star price? Because you know what? They think you have to make a trade-off, right? If I offer a premium product, I have a premium cost structure. But that's not true. Or if I do low cost, I have to cut back on quality. Not true. You have to challenge yourself. How can I break that trade-off? The minute I assume I must make it, I do make it. And the minute I force myself to say I must break it, I start seeing what can I eliminate and reduce that our industry has long done that no longer adds value. And what can I raise and create that we've never done before? And as you'll read in this book, probably 40 to 50% of what industries compete on adds no value or can be shifted. So you look at dry bar, which probably every woman can get. So what do women need when they go to the hairdresser? We go to get our hair cut once. What? Every 4 weeks, 6 weeks, maybe 6 months. Color, what? Every 4, 6, 8 months? Permanent, same thing. But what she saw what women want, what makes them feel empowered, is having fantastic hair, blow dry. She eliminated everything else, which requires more staff, more training, more expertise, focused only on blow dries, made a totally emotional experience instead of functional, opens up this whole new market space. And as she can do it, I would argue anyone else can when they think differently.
Yes. And, we were talking about that a little bit kind of off camera when we were meeting. And I was asking you, do you ever have people that say, oh, my industry or my business, there's no blue ocean?
Yeah.
I feel like there's always a freaking blue ocean, right?
I think everyone thinks, like when you teach executives or MBA
Yes.
students, they say, in that industry is true, but not in my industry. And I said, I always ask 2 questions. Okay, so it's not in your industry today, and it's true today, but it'll be false tomorrow, because the question I ask is, okay, you think you can't create a blue ocean, but let me ask you, do you think in 10 years or 20 years someone's going to create a blue ocean, do something different in your industry? Do you? Most people will sit back and say, yeah, I bet you someone will. So my next question is, if they're going to do it in 10 or 20 years, why can't you do that today? Because it means the opportunity is out there. It's always impossible until it's done. The hair salon industry said it would have been impossible until it's done.
Yeah.
Major network TV would have said it's impossible for anyone to challenge us with a great TV show for women until Marie Forleo does that TV show, right? No, but it's true. It's true. And that's what you need to realize. And I think by showing how ordinary people and ordinary organizations, small and large, have done it, and how many assumptions they flip by going through the process, I think it starts to, one, it gives you a roadmap, but it also inspires you how you can think differently.
I think it's so incredibly energizing, for a team, all of us, right? We can get stuck in this rote every day. This is how we do things. And you start to feel a little panicked if you feel, competition starting to bite at your heels. And then you're feeling the sense of, oh gosh, I'm becoming irrelevant. And then so it's all about fear and scarcity. But what I love about this, it's a complete energy shift where you start bumping up against those things that you assume to be true. And then the whole team gets inspired. I know, whenever we meet as Team Forleo, and, you're only seeing a portion of, this is our Marie TV crew, but we have folks all over the country. And it's really fun internally when we have those calls, like, do we really need to do we need to keep doing that? No, like, let's get rid of it. And has anyone done this before? No. And it's like, we're going to do it. And it's just, people get insanely energized. They want to work, 16-hour, 17-hour days, and you don't have to force them to do it. I think that's the other benefit to this. Okay, so.
But if I step back from one thing you said, Marie, and that was that you said most people wonder, is there a blue ocean in my industry?
Yeah.
And in fact, any organization that we're brought into, I can tell you, we did it in toilet paper. I mean, how much can you create a blue ocean in toilet paper? I can't get more commodity than that. But what we tell people is, okay, then maybe there isn't. Let's just see. So you discover for yourself in the process. So the first thing we say, step one, is let's get clear on the current state of play. Do you even need to shift? And that's when people themselves have to fill in that strategy canvas. Nobody from the top tells you. And they start to realize that they aren't clear on the factors they compete on. And then when they finally draw their canvas, they find out they're a me too, right? The line that always comes back, and I start pushing, I'll say, you're a me too. And then someone will say, oh, come on, Renee, you're so tough on us. We're no worse than anyone else. And I said, okay, that's it. That's the tagline. That's what I want you to go to the market. We're no worse than anyone else. Tell me how well that sells. And then they realize, and I said, okay, we need a shift. And they say, but you know what? Now we need to shift, but we don't know if there's an opportunity. So the second step is about uncovering and imagining what could be. So we have a second tool, which is about uncovering all the pain points in your industry. So when the French fry maker did that and they saw they were a me too, do you think they thought, oh yeah, we know there's a blue ocean? You know what they said? We're skeptical. We don't think we can do it. We're a company founded in 1857, a French bureaucracy. And not only that, our industry is so competitive. But when they did the second tool and they looked across from beginning to end, how you purchase to disposal, they found out when we make electric French fries, nobody can dispose of the hot oil. They don't know what to do. When we use it, it's dangerous. People are afraid. Our houses become smelly when we do it. The oil is expensive to buy. People think twice about it. If I don't want to throw it out, I don't even know where to store it. My fridge doesn't. And what they uncovered, they were like, oh my God. Here we thought there was no opportunity, and we never even saw all these pain points. And then you know what they start to say? If there are all these pain points, because pain points are not constraints, those are opportunities to seize. And if there are all those pain points and I can start to flip them, don't you think people might come? And then, I'll just go, the second part of that is, who are our customers? They say, we sell to people who love French fries. I said, well, what if we remove those pain points? Could we grow more customers? What do you think? Right? Tier 1, tier 2. They say, yeah, I bet you a lot of people refuse our industry because they don't want to deal with the mess, because you can't clean the either. It's oil. Mm-hmm. It's too hard to clean. It's too smelly, all those things. Maybe if it's with no frying, no oil, they become customers. I said, but what about all the health conscious people, or Oprah maybe, we're worried about our weight. We all love fries, but it's like something we should be careful about. Do you think they would? I said, yeah. Now all of a sudden I went from thinking there is absolutely no opportunity, but by going through 2 more tools, I see pain points I can flip, and I imagine when I flip them who I am. So the blue ocean goes from being some kind of a vague inspirational idea to something I can see before me. My confidence has gone up, and now I'm starting to shift. And even if I stop the process right there, and I don't go through the rest of it, my team will never look at the market the same. I have clear ideas of how I can pick this low-hanging fruit, pull in new customers, and start shifting from the red to the blue. I might not create the next Apple iPod, but am I going to start moving from competing and Me Too competition to reaching out and being something different? My answer is absolutely. And if a French fry maker from 1857 can do it, and Zuhal can do it from Iraq, there's no excuse for anyone out there why you can't do it too.
This is just like business church. This was basically business church, and that's why I love it. And that's why I love you, Renee. This is awesome. Okay, I don't know, because again, of course, folks are going to get the book. They need to get the book. But are there any simple questions? Like if people are listening or watching right now and they're like, okay, I'm going to go in my journal. I'm going to go meet with my team. Like some things that we can write down. Would it be around pain points? Is there any questions as prompts, let's say, you could offer up that would help people start to shift to a blue ocean perspective and lean in that direction?
Okay, so a blue ocean perspective is one thing, but let me tell them 3 things they should stop doing first.
Great.
The first thing they should stop doing is looking to the competition and letting the competition drive your strategy, which is why most industries commoditize themselves, right? They've turned themselves into a Me Too. So if you want to stand out in the industry, don't look to the competition, to the point we made, and the book shows you, look outside of your industry to get ideas on how to reshape your industry. So don't look to the competition. It's going to make you Me Too. Second thing is stop talking to your customers, because all they're going to do is reaffirm what you tend to do and ask you to do more for less. And what you want to do is think about all the people who refuse your industry and ask what it is that turns them off about your industry. And they're the ones that will very rapidly tell you all the pain points that they don't like about your industry, or the points of intimidation, right? Things that make them feel classical music's not for me, or museum's not for me, or that's too sophisticated for me. And the third thing would be is a point I made earlier is stop thinking you need to make a trade-off, because the minute you believe it, you make it.
Meaning a trade-off in terms of
value and cost, or that you can't be a premium product, you need a high cost structure, or I have to be low cost. I want you to systematically think about how I can break that trade-off. What can I eliminate and reduce that we assume people need that probably adds cost and no value? And what can I raise and create to break apart? And when you start to challenge that and force people to come back, and if they say, I can't do it, then I'll tell you this. Easiest way to do it, just say, tell me the stupidest thing we do in our industry, because they may not think it's a pain point. You've got to come with the stupidest thing we do in our industry. That's going to be the thing you're going to want to eliminate, and start there. And tell me the one thing. And if you don't know it, go to your complaint department that nobody listens to and ask them what people complain about the most about your industry. And that's what you want to think about, what you should create to remove that pain point. And you can start getting tremendous insight just by doing that. So.
I love it. I love it. And, you've seen businesses change, I'm sure, over the years from doing this. Is there anything in terms of insights, forward-looking trends, patterns? I feel like emotional experiences are becoming more and more important in business because we're so ironically disconnected, but connected all the time, 24/7 with technology. Anything that you've noticed out and about that you're like, didn't expect that to happen, or you just see things bubbling up that.
Yeah. I think we saw two things in our research in the book. The first thing is everyone today talks about, so one is human, but one is an understanding where market opportunities are. And if I start with that, everyone today talks about disruption all the time. You have to disrupt. But what that does is it makes you take aim at the existing market and try to take down the competition. But what we saw is that the companies are creating new markets. That's half the picture disruption. But the other half is what we call non-disruptive creation. And that's where you create new markets where there once wasn't any. So you're not displacing anyone. So life coaching, your industry, Tony Robbins started it 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Today, $2 billion industry, second fastest growing profession in America today. And it took Tony at the time to sit there and start thinking, I want to create an opportunity for people that they can't get anywhere else. And that is to help them advance in their personal and professional lives. That industry never existed. Viagra, right? Solved a problem men had for a long time. Didn't displace anyone when Pfizer did that, but made men have a lot more fun. So if you look at our book, whether it was what Sesame Street did or, a student of mine, she's creating a whole new market space where there wasn't any. So she should get inspired. She's realizing today to get into top MBA programs, she's providing the coaching of how do you do your resume? What kind of work experience do you want? How do you interview to get into the best business schools in the world? That's a market that didn't exist 15 years ago that she's creating. So don't think just disruption, think non-disruptive creation. And I think women are really good at it because women don't like going up against it. I mean, men can too, but I think it's a great opportunity. But the second thing, and I saw your fabulous interview with Brené Brown, which I just loved.
Thank you.
And that is about realizing, I think most work and strategy and business has always treated people as though we're rational human beings. And we show up to work, we see something smart and we do it. But the issue we found in our research and where companies fail again and again is when we realize that we don't show up as a position or a title, we show up as a human being. And when you think about shifting and creating and you're saying the fears of all the people in your audience, can I do it? It's because people need a roadmap to shift. But if I only know where I need to go, but I don't have the confidence to act, I'm not going anywhere. So the second thing we need to realize is when we're asking people to move, we have to acknowledge that that is going to unlock within us fears. Can I do it? Am I capable? And they're not going to voice those because we keep those fears and those insecurities to ourselves because we want to be judged by our strengths, not our weaknesses. And so to make the process, we have to fundamentally never forget who we show up as people. And half of the book is all about how do I unlock and build people's confidence so I not only know what I need to do, but I'm willing to go on that journey. And part of it is acknowledging. And in the book, we tell everyone what you should feel at every step. You should feel afraid. And actually, guess what? That doesn't make you weak. It's what makes you normal and human. Because I'm shifting from what you know to imagine new possibilities. You should be that way. And the book gives you tools, importantly, to move you there, right? So one thing is, how do I break that big challenge down into small concrete steps so that I have the confidence and I build the creative capabilities to willingly move forward? So it's like, if I teach a kid to swim, if I tell a child tomorrow, I'm going to throw you in the ocean, you're going to swim, they'll be petrified. It's a wonderful thing, but be petrified. But if I tell them, tomorrow all we're going to do is put our feet in the water, can you handle it? They've never had their feet in the water, but say, okay. And guess what? If you're scared, mommy's going to take you out. And then the next day, we're going to get our knees in the water. And the next day, mom's going to hold you. And the next day, you're going to try it. And I'm going to let go. And I'm taking you like that. Before you know it, that kid is swimming. And that is part of it's like one of the tools. How do you break that challenge down into small steps so people have the confidence to move? And we really address that. And the whole thing you're going to hear, because we walk you through your inside companies, how the fear that they have is.
Yeah.
And how they build it. And we tell you at any point in the journey, you can turn back if you don't think you can go. But by the way, the simple fact I know I can turn back gives me the confidence to want to take that step because I know there's always an exit door.
I think it's one of the best pieces of this particular book because it is terrifying to go out in a whole new frontier. And if people do feel like, I can experiment, I can explore, I can see what's out here, but I am not committed at this point to have to execute on it, all of a sudden our creativity opens up. It's like, oh, we can get wild with our ideas. Let's just throw it down. I think it's wonderful. And I love that humanist part of the book because it's so much of what we do here on the show and also in my company. Renee, you are amazing. Thank you so much for coming here today. Thank you for your work that you do in the world. And I look forward to more conversations together. So now you know how to price your services, but what if your problem is convincing people that they should pay? Well, then you need to watch this right now, how to convince people to pay for your services. And in it, you'll learn a very simple framework that will work on any business. Watch it now. Remember, nobody really cares about your knowledge. They want solutions to their problems, and always be as specific as possible.